In guttation, I want to tell you what is I would tell you what is guttation, and then we'll discuss what are the Haida thoughts. There are a special type of the pore for, yes, this is a picture of guttation, and there is one more diagram. Let me incorporate that diagram also. Haida. Look, first let me discuss with you what is Haida thought. What are the guttation? Then I'll tell you what are the Haida thoughts. These both are equally important. That's why I taken the both of the diagram. Look, for sake of example, this is a leaf. Right, this is the leaf. So as you can see in leaf margin, there are some water droplet, and the water start coming out in the form of droplet. This process is called guttation. Actually, generally at the tip of leaf, at the tips of leaf. So these are the marginal tip, right? At the tip of leaf, there is a special kind of the pore, and this pore is called, this hole or this pore is called hydathode. Hydathode. From this hydathode pore, water start coming out in the form of droplet, right? The oozing out water in the form of droplet is called guttation, right? This is called guttation. Actually, where does it happen? There are certain conditions where does it happen. It takes place where those places where they they are, or we can say they have high temperature. The daytime temperature is very high. Uh, let's make it this way, right? At the daytime, high temperature, high temperature, and nights are nighttime. Nights are cooler. So there is a great temperature difference in those areas. So basically, they are the desert areas, desertic areas. So in desertic areas, what happens? The days are so hot. So at the daytime, what happened? Root pressure remains high, and this root pressure remains kept on high during the night time. At the night time, transpiration become zero and transpiration become low. So the water start coming out a special type of pore, and these pores are called hydathode. Uh, this is the best example is that in Africa there is a certain kind of there is a tribe we call that Masai. So what Masai people do in African those tribal areas, there is a no water is very like limited over there. So very scarce source of the water. So what happens? These Masai people take the shell of ostrich egg, and what they do, they keep these shells below the leaf, wider leaves, and in the whole night, due to the droplet, due to guttation, the those ostrich shell get filled with the water. At the morning, they collect this water and use for the whole day. So that is the a special kind of the practice. So this process is called guttation. For guttation, there are a special kind of the pore. These pores are called hydathode, and these hydathode structure is like there is a guard shell, and there is some loose cells. These are called epitheme. So epitheme is loose parenchymatous cell. This is loose parenchyma cells, and these are tracheate, means these are the xylem. So they bring the water over here, right? So guttation takes place to the hydathode. Is it clear? Clear to all of you? And uh, the example where the example of those plants in which where the guttation takes place actually takes place in oat, tomato, tomato, cucurbits, cucurbits. So these all are example of guttation. So please start noting now. The loss or excretion of water, the loss or excretion of water in the form of liquid droplet, the loss or excretion of water in the form of liquid droplet from the leaves, the loss or excretion of water in the form of liquid droplets from the leaves, and other part of an injured or intact plant, and other part of injured or intact plant is called guttation. Right? And one more example, which is very frequently asked, a garden nosturium, the name of that plant. This is the picture of garden nosturium. Garden nosturium. So this is the example is garden nosturium. Next point is the guttation liquid is never pure. Guttation liquid is never pure. It contain many solutes. It contain many solutes which may be organic or inorganic. It may contain many solutes which may be organic or inorganic. Next point, guttation usually occurs during the period of active growth. Guttation usually occurs during the period of active growth when condition favor more water absorption, when condition favor more water absorption and less transpiration. More water absorption and less transpiration. Full stop. Such conditions are found in humid tropical area, rainy season, late spring, in temperate areas, etc. Next point. Guttation takes place through a special kind of pores. Guttation takes place through a special kind of pores called hydrothode. Guttation takes place through a special kind of pores called hydrothodes. Fine. So we did transpiration, we did hydrothode, we did guttation. Is it clear to all of you? Yes? Is it clear?
Yes.
Fine. So the next is that is transpiration pull theory. So let me discuss with you what is a transpiration pull. So transpiration create a pull kind of the force, and that's why the water reaches up to the highest point of the plant. So this theory is actually called transpiration pull theory. Let me discuss with you what is the transpiration pull theory. Then we'll discuss with the last theory, that is the mass flow theory, right? So just so next heading is transpiration. Transpiration. Transpiration pull theory is the theory which actually explain how does the water reaches to the highest part of the plant. Means there are some angiosperm and gymnosperm which have height of 113 meter, 140, 20 meter. So 13 meter or 20 meter means approximately that is a 350 feet or 400 feet. So how does the water reaches at that much height? Which is the force which is pushing this water to go at that much height, right? So the apex part also get the water. So the transpiration pull theory is sufficient enough to explain how does the water reaches to the highest part of the plant. So let's discuss with the transpiration pull theory. Let me discuss with you. Let me explain what is the theory and how does it work. Right, transpiration pull. Yes, this is the transpiration pull. Look, this is transpiration pull theory. So what transpiration pull theory says? Transpiration pull theory says that look, this is the upper part represent the leaf part, right? From where the transpiration is taking place. You can see over here. So here the transpiration is taking place. So transpiration is taking place from the stomata, right? These are losing the water. So when they are losing water, they are create a pulling force by the way of transpiration. So transpiration is creating a pull force, right? Pull force, right? This is called transpiration pull theory. And it means in the nutshell, I can say that transpiration is the thing which is like drawing the water from the root. Like this is the same way like you have a cold drink bottle and you have a straw and you are sucking cold drink from the with the help of straw. So by this way you are pulling the cold drink in fact from the lower from the bottom to the your mouth. So that's how you are creating the pull. In the same way, in place of your mouth, this is the transpiration in the plant, which is creating a pull force. And with the help of this pull force, water is reaching at the highest point. So look, how does it work? Transpiration pull theory also says that there are tracheates. So tracheate means they are basically xylem. So for example, this is a xylem, right? This is a structure of xylem, which is responsible for translocation of wood. Inside xylem, so xylem is made up of a special kind of the cells. They are sclerenchymatous basically cells. So some are the different cells as well. So inside the xylem, there are water molecule, right? Water molecule. So this is another water molecule. This is another water molecule. So actually, the water molecule attract each other with the help of a force. These are water molecules. So we have studied already in class 10th that water molecule or any kind of the water molecule which are made up of same type of the material. So same type of the molecule attract or pull each other with the help of a force, and that force is called cohesive force or cohesion, right? So, so by this way, cohesive force is attracting one water molecule is attracting another molecule with the help of cohesive force. So this is cohesive, right? So water molecule are attracting each other with the help of cohesive force, right? Again, one more important. What is the another important? That look, these these water these water molecule are also attracted by the xylem tracheates, right? So the xylems are tracheate are made up of a different kind of material. Water is different kind of material. So the force between the different kind of the material, that is called adhesion force. So adhesion force, what is the function of adhesion force? Adhesion force do not allow to fall this water column due to the gravity. Gravity is trying to pull the water column, but this adhesion force, this attract water molecule towards itself, and they prevent the water column to fall due to gravity. So look, Cohesive force makes the water column, right? With the help of they create a tension and they make a water column. Adhesion force do not allow to fall this water molecule. And last but not the least, there is one more force, and that force is called transpiration pull. So transpiration pull is pulling this water column. So that's how the water reaches at the top of the plant. Up to some extent, root pressure also work over here, but these are the basically three main forces which are responsible for the rising of water inside a plant. Tell me, is it clear or not? Tell me, is it crystal clear or not? Please, all of you. This is very
Yes.
important. This is 5 marker question for you. Minashi, clear?
Yes,
Samara?
sir.
Mazia?
Mm.
Okay, great. So take the screenshot, and I expect at least you will draw this one, this diagram, and simplified way of this diagram as well, right? Take the screenshot. Then I'll make you to write it down, right? Start writing. Transpiration pull theory. This is also called cohesion tension theory. Cohesion tension theory or transpiration pull theory. Let me write it down over here. Transpiration pull theory, or this is also called cohesion, because cohesion force create a tension. Cohesion tension theory. This cohesion tension theory or transpiration pull theory, it was given by two scientists named Dixon and Joly. Dixon and Joly. So Dixon and Joly were the two scientists who given this theory, transpiration pull theory. Right. So start writing now. The transpiration pull theory or cohesion tension theory was put forward by Dixon and Joly in 1894. Transpiration pull theory or cohesion tension theory was put forward by Dixon and Joly in 1894. Full stop. Full stop. The main feature of theory are following. The main feature of theory are following. So there are three main features. Put first heading, the heading A. The main feature of theory are following. First, what is the first feature? So look. So first feature is continuous water column. Continuous water column. Good. Right, start writing now. There is a continuous column of water. There is a continuous column of water from root through stem into leaves. There is a continuous column of water from root through stem into leaves. From root through stem into leaves. Full stop. The water column is present. The water column is present in trachary element. The water column is present in trachary element. Full stop.
It's present in
Trachary element. Trachary means tracheidopsilum, right? Trachary element. Water column is present in trachary element. Full stop. The column of water does not fall. The column of water does not fall under the impact of gravity. the column of water does not fall under the impact of gravity because force of transpiration because force of transpiration provide both energy because force of transpiration provide both energy and necessary pull. Necessary pull. Full stop. Cohesion, adhesion, cohesion, adhesion, and surface tension. Cohesion, adhesion, and surface tension keep the water in place. Keep the water in place. Full stop. Second subheading. So second subheading is cohesion or tensile strength. Cohesion or tensile strength. Cohesion or tensile strength. Water molecule remains attached to one another. Water molecule remains attached to one another by strong mutual force of attraction. By strong mutual force of attraction. Force of attraction uh, called force of attraction called cohesion force. Called cohesion force. Full stop. The water column can bear. The water column can bear a tension or pull up to. The water column bear a tension or pull up to 100 atmosphere. A tension or pull up to 100 atmosphere. Full stop. Therefore, a cohesion force is also called. Therefore, cohesion force is also called tensile strength. Full stop. Another force, next point, another force called adhesion force, another force called adhesion force between the xylem wall and water molecule, between xylem wall and water molecule, do not allow it to break, do not allow to break down water column. Right? Full stop. Surface tension accounts for surface tension account for high capillarity through trachea and vessels. Third point, transpiration pull.
The surface tension accounts
Surface tension that account for high capillarity through trachea and vessels. Transpiration pull. The third point is transpiration pull. Water vapor diffuses out of leaf. Water vapor diffuses out of leaf. Full stop. The mesophyll cells continuously. The mesophyll cells continuously loses water to the intercellular spaces. Mesophyll cell continuously loses water to the intercellular spaces. Full stop. This create a transpiration pull. This create a transpiration pull by decreasing this create transpiration pull by decreasing the water potential. Full stop. As tension developed due to transpiration, as the tension developed due to transpiration, it is called transpiration pull. Full stop. One last point. A tension of 10 to 20 atmosphere. A tension of 10 to 20 atmosphere is sufficient to raise water. Is sufficient to raise water to height of tallest tree over 130 meters. So that is called transpiration pull theory, right? Is it clear, or do you have any doubt? In case if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask me. Yes, guys, tell me, please. Come on. Is that all clear? 100% clear?
Yes.
Great. So the last point is that is the uptake. One more important thing, that is the, before going into the next theory, that is the called mass flow hypothesis, source and sink theory. We have one more topic, that is the uptake of mineral and ions, right? So look, the mineral ions which are taken through the apoplastic pathway do not require any energy, but the minerals ion which are taken through the symplastic pathway, they do require energy, and the active transport takes place, right? So transport of mineral nutrient, transport mineral. So else what happened? Look, uptake of mineral and nutrient takes place with the help of active process mostly, right? Some of the ions, they do transported by with the help of passive process, but the passive process is only available for the apoplastic pathway. In symplastic pathway, the energy uptake takes place, right? And the mineral and ions, they remains dissolved with the water. They follow the same pathway that is followed by the water. That's it, right? So please note it down this thing. The most of mineral enter in the root. The most of mineral enter into root by the active process. The most of mineral enter into root active by active process. That is at the expense of that is at the expense of ATP, right? So they have to spend ATP for taking the mineral ion. Full stop. This need energy from the ATP. Full stop. The active uptake of ions partially responsible for water potential gradient in root. What does it mean? The active uptake of ion is partially responsible for water potential gradient in root. It means when the ions are taken actively inside the protoplasm, what will happen? When the protoplasm will have more ion, then water potential will decrease. And in the soil, water potential is higher. Hence, what will happen? Water start moving from the outside to inside. So whenever the ions are taken inside, by default, water also coming due to them inside, right? Next point. Uh, some ions also move into epidermal cell passively. Some ions also move in epidermal cell passively, right? Next point. Root endodermis because of layer of suberin. Root endodermis because of layer of suberin have ability
The
layer of suberin. So look, we have already discussed that there is the endodermal cell have Casparian strip. Do you remember? Endodermis, it have Casparian strip, and Casparian strip is made up of this strip is made up of suberin. So apoplastic pathway is not possible in this Casparian strip, right? So there is only the way which is possible, that is the word, that is the active process, right? So please note it down. Root endodermis because of layer of suberin have ability to active transport ion in one direction only. Next point. So basically, the transportation of mineral and iron takes place from the roots towards those parts which are newly formed part. Why? Because the development and cell division is taking place at 2 points. Only those parts where the meristematic activity is taking place, there is minerals are required. Why? Because the formation of new part. Second, those parts which are growing of means young growing leaves, right? So they also require the large amount of minerals, and those leaves which are already matured, mineral do not it is not required by them. Before any leaf fall, what happens? Please mind it, before any leaf fall, what happens? The minerals are remobilized, right? These minerals comes back again, then the leaf fall, right? So before any leaf fall, plant take back the mineral, right? That is called remobilization. So please note it down. The chief sink for the mineral element, the chief sink for the mineral element are growing region of plant, growing region of plant, growing region of plant, like meristematic, like meristematic zones, apical and lateral meristem, right? Meristematic zone, apical and lateral meristem. Full stop. The elements, the element most readily mobilized, the element most, that is a very important point, please note it down. The many times the question have been asked in your medical examination, which element is mobilized, like highly mobilized, which is the least mobilized, right? So these kind of the questions. So the element which are most readily mobilized are phosphorus, sulfur, comma, nitrogen and potassium, full stop. Some element that are a structural component, some element that are a structural component are not remobilized, like calcium. Please listen to me carefully whatever I am going to tell you. This is very confusing point in NCERT. Many of the students ask me a question that, sir, in this chapter it is written that calcium is not remobilized, and in next chapter mineral nutrition it is written calcium is mobile element, which is correct. Look, this is not the case of mobilization. Whenever a plant root absorbs calcium, it is directly sent to those parts which are where the meristematic activity is taking place, means cells are dividing. So newly forming part, right? Because meristematic cell are required large amount of the calcium for sake of cell division. So due to the cell division, calcium is required in high amount. So calcium get mobility from the root to the top of the plant. But what is the remobilization? Remobilization different case. A few minutes before I was telling you that what is the remobilization. So look, try to listen and try to understand what is the remobilization. Suppose that there is an older leaf and this older leaf will fall after few days or after few hours. So what will happen before this old leaf, right? Defoliating leaf, before it fall, what will happen? Most of the important mineral and nutrient, they will come back to the plant. This process is called remobilization. That is right, important element comes back. That is called remobilization. So calcium is not remobilized. Why? Because middle lamella and most of the structural component, they are made up of calcium. So calcium is not going to be remobilized. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, calcium, these things are not going to be remobilized. But the rest of the element like iron, sodium, potassium, nitrogen, they will be remobilized. Is it clear or not? Okay. So please note it down one last point. A small amount of exchange of material, between xylem and phloem takes place. So this was all about how does the water and the ions or minerals, they reaches to the top of the plant. Is it clear? Is it crystal clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Great. So last but not the least, that is the phloem translocation. So translocation of the phloem, for translocation of the mineral, there was a theory, transpiration pull theory, which explain how does the transportation takes place in xylem. For for the transportation in phloem takes place have been explained by a theory that is called mass flow hypothesis. Let me explain you what is the mass flow hypothesis. So transport in phloem, transport in phloem, and that is explained by the pressure flow or mass flow hypothesis. Pressure flow right, right. Pressure flow or mass flow hypothesis. This is the pressure flow or mass flow hypothesis. Try to understand what is this actually. So in this hypothesis, there is a relation that is called source and sink relation. So let me make you clear what is the source. Source is actually that part where the photosynthesis is taking place, right? So in this theory, we are calling that thing source. Yes, that is the source only because that is the thing which is making the food. So source are green leaves, green leaves or cell, where food formation is taking place. Food formation is taking place. And what we call sink, sink is that is part where food is stored. Food is stored. So what can be a sink? A sink can be a fruit. Yes. A sink can be basically a root, and sink can be any non-photosynthetic part. Photosynthetic part. In xylem, we say translocation of water is unidirectional, right? So transport of water, that is the unidirectional process. Unidirectional. So this is the question, and it has been asked. So whenever it is said that the translocation taking place in xylem, means that is the unidirectional process. How? It is always from the root towards the those part where the transpiration is taking place. But when we say that is transport transport of food or organic substance, that is the multi-directional process. Multi-direction. Why? Because it takes place in any direction, from any photosynthetic part to fruit, maybe in upper side, left side, lower side, or any different part which are not making the food, right? So that is called that is called transport in phloem. Look how the transport in phloem taking place. Try to understand, and in case if you are unable to understand, let me know. I'll tell you. Right? Look, the food is made in the form of, so food is always produced in the form of glucose. Yes. So glucose is produced, but mind it, guys, transport of glucose do not take place. What is the glucose? Glucose is that is monosaccharide. It's a type of monosaccharide. Try to understand. Then glucose transport of glucose do not take place. So glucose changes into sucrose. Transport of sucrose takes place. Then what is the sucrose? Sucrose is disaccharide. disaccharide. So sucrose is transported, then transport of sucrose takes place. This sucrose is transported from the source or leaf cell to the companion cell, right? To the companion cell. So they are transported from the here to companion cell due to the potential gradient, or we can say the concentration gradient, right? It is taking place in the concentration gradient, right? Direction, right? It moved to companion cell. So it is moving with the help of a small pore. These are called plasmodesmata. Whenever the sucrose reaches to here, where companion cell, when they move from the companion cell to the nearby sieve tube element, right? Sieve tube element. So transfer of food from here to here, from here to here, this process is actually active process, right? Why this is active process? Because spent of energy takes place. So energy is spent over here. What happened? Energy is spent over here. ATP changes into ADP. So ATP required. So ATP is required over here. That's why this is the active process. And so ATP is required over here, where when the food is transferred from companion to nearby sieve tube element. And this process is known as loading. So loading takes place over here. Now what happened, right? Actually, the concentration gradient increases over here. So water potential decreases, right? Nearby xylem gives water to this sieve tube element by the water potential. So water moves from high water potential to high water potential to here, where low water potential. So water move from high to low water potential. Then again in the sieve tube element, this food is transferred from one sieve to another sieve to another sieve with the in the direction of concentration gradient. So here the food is translocated by due to concentration gradient. So here the food is translocated in the direction of concentration gradient. Now, whenever food reaches to nearby any sink, so at the near the sink, the companion cell takes back the food, right? Whenever the companion cell takes back the food, what happened? This is again the process is called active process. Again, here energy is spent. So ATP changes into ADP, and the process is active. And in companion cell, ATP is spent, right? Food is taken back from the sieve tube to the companion shell near at the sink point, right? And this is called unloading. So now unloading takes place. Unloading taking place when food reaches to the sink or the root cell, it changes into where what? Starch. It changes into starch. Now, what is the starch? Starch is a type of, look, food changes into starch. Starch is a type of uh, polysaccharide. Polysaccharide, as it is insoluble in water. Insoluble in water. Now the water gets separated from the starch. So water gets separated from the starch. Now this water moves back to the where? To the xylem element, right? So why water comes back due to xylem element, and that's how the water leaves the food over here and it comes back, right? That's how the transport of food takes place from the source toward the sink. This is called source sink theory. This is also called mass flow hypothesis. Is it clear or not? Here, have a glance and please let me. I will look over here and understand carefully, and then ask me a question if there is a doubt. Yes, guys, is it clear to all of you? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so please take this screenshot and expect every one of you will draw this diagram at your notebook. Then I'll explain. Please start noting down. Pressure flow or mass flow hypothesis was put forward by pressure flow or mass flow hypothesis was put forward by a scientist called Munch. Put forward by a scientist called Munch. Let's stop. According to this hypothesis, according to this hypothesis, organic substances, according to this hypothesis, organic substances moves from organic substances moves from region of high osmotic pressure, region of high osmotic pressure to the region of high osmotic pressure to the region of low osmotic pressure. Low osmotic pressure in mass flow, in mass flow due to development of due to development of gradient. Next, food is formed in the form of glucose, in the form of glucose. Let's
So
stop.
can you repeat this?
Food is formed in the form of glucose by photosynthesis. Food is formed in the form of glucose by photosynthesis. Full stop. Glucose is converted into a disaccharide. Glucose is converted into a disaccharide called sucrose. Disaccharide called sucrose. Full stop. Sucrose moves from source cell to nearby companion cell. Sucrose moves from source cell to the nearby companion cell in the direction of concentration gradient, in the direction of concentration gradient. Full stop. Next point. Companion cell send food to sieve tube element by active process. Companion cell
Send food.
send food to sieve tube element by active process. Full stop. ATP is spent here. ATP is spent here. ATP is spent here, and the process is called loading. And the process is called loading. Full stop. Next point. In sieve tube element, water starts in sieve tube element, water starts coming from nearby xylem element. In sieve tube element, water start coming from nearby xylem element due to low water potential, due to low
The
water
nearby xylem
potential.
element.
Sorry. Yes. Should I repeat it, or something is left?
So say from water starts coming.
Uh, Look, write it down. Water starts coming from nearby xylem element to the sieve tube element due to low water potential. Full stop. In sieve tube element, organic food moves in the direction of, in sieve tube element, organic food moves in the direction of concentration gradient, which is called pressure flow. Full stop. When it reaches to sink, it is taken by the companion cells. When it reaches to sink, it is taken by companion cell. It is taken by companion cell by the active process. It is taken by the companion cell by the active process. Full stop. This is called unloading. This is called unloading of food. Full stop. Again, food reaches from companion cell to sink cell. Food reaches from companion cell to sink cell, and it is converted into starch. It is converted into starch. Full stop. Starch is insoluble in water. Starch is insoluble in water. Starch is insoluble in water. Hence, water comes back to nearby xylem element. Hence, water comes back to nearby xylem element as it gets separate from organic food. right? This was complete the mass flow hypothesis, right? Tell me, guys, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this was all about the pressure flow, and this was all about this chapter, transport in plant. So is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Next chapter is a bit very easy kind of the chapter. So that is a transport in the next chapter not easy. It's you have to remember lots of the things. So that is if from your angle, lots of the things to frame over there. So you have to cram more and more. There are very little to understand in this chapter. That is mineral nutrition chapter.
So,
Yes.
so if you don't mind, can you start photosynthesis in higher plants chapter?
Yeah, sure. Not an issue. Yes, we can start with the photosynthesis. That is a big chapter. So look, before starting the photosynthesis, I want to check some assignment. Mm, I think Samira have submitted assignment. Let me check your answer, and then we will move to photosynthesis. Assignment. Yes. Oh, this is the assignment, I think. Uh, Water. Yes. Let me check it first. Very good. You have written question as well. Explain the uh, absorption that occurs in proximal convoluted tubule. Very good. PC. Yes, Samana, is it the latest assignment which you have submitted? Samara,
No, sir.
it's not the latest assignment which you have submitted. Then which one you have submitted? This one, plant water. No, no, plant water relation. I think this should be the latest one. But it's not there. Filtration and micturation. It's the latest one. Nervous system, sliding filament, locomotion, body fluid. These are the older one. Where is your latest assignment? Blood and sliding filament theory. Plant water relation. Where is the next part of the plant water relation? What? Which was the last one, Samara? Latest one was? Can you tell me, Samara?
So that plant with the relation only.
Plant water relation. Plant water relation. Not there. Let me check it. It's Samara, yes. That is the your folder and okay. Anyway, not there. Anyway, till the point, let's start with the next chapter, that is photosynthesis.